Hello, we are in chapters 20 to 22 of Tess of the D'Urbervilles. Spring is working its way into summer, and things are ripening, and it's warm. It's wonderful out there. Hardy digresses slightly early in the chapter by saying that the maids and men working in Dairyman Crick's household are above the line of neediness, but below the line of needing all the conveniences of life. And he calls this the happiest condition of life, when you have enough to live on, but you don't have too much. He is not a materialist. He also asserts early in this chapter that every individual has the right to love, and that means Tess has the right to love, and she certainly does. But to Angel Clare, she is the merest stray phenomenon. He's not paying a whole lot of attention to her. He allows his mind to be occupied with her. Every afternoon on the farm, the hands take a nap, and it is Tess's job to awaken them. And so she has to awaken Angel Clare. Climb up the ladder to his loft. Remember, he has to room above everyone else because he thinks he's better than everybody else. And the idea of awakening is fairly symbolic. Awakening is the realization that of something, or the aha moment. And she is going to awaken him in a large way later on. Hardy talks about this farm, this valley, with all its greenness, is almost like the Garden of Eden. And we know what happened in the Garden of Eden. The serpent came along and everything changed. But how does he see her? And let's talk about that. When you get to Great Gatsby and Hamlet Honors, Gatsby will put Daisy on a pedestal. Now, what are the risks of putting anybody on a pedestal? Well, they might not measure up and they might fall off. You'll find out about Daisy when you get to her. But here is Angel's view of Tess. She impressed him most deeply. A visionary essence of woman, her Artemis, her Demeter, half teasingly, which she did not like because she did not understand them. He's seeing her as a goddess. She's not a goddess, she's a human being. That's a mistake. And that's how he sees her. But then he does a complete 180, and he will see her as just a dairymaid, the country dairymaid, the country simple girl. That's not her either. She's a complex woman. Hardy has already told us that. Now, every day the cows have to range themselves, and they walk up to certain milkers because those are the ones they're comfortable with. And he has certain cows, and she has certain cows too. She loses for him her ethereal beauty and is the dazzlingly fair dairymaid. Well, at least he's got one thing right about her. She's beautiful, but he does not have anything about her personality right. Hardy ends the chapter with an ominous sound. The huge breakfast table is pulled across the stone floor of the kitchen, makes a terrible scraping sound. It's a bad omen. Hardy entitles the third phase of the novel, The Rally. And if you know anything about sports, a rally is when a team comes back from being behind and wins at the end, and it's exhilarating and fun to watch. We hope Tess makes a rally, but we'll see. Chapter 21. Not off to a good start. There's a stir in the milk house. The butter won't churn. And everybody's wondering why. Hardy makes 2 points here. Dairyman Crick says, my father used to send to a man called a conjurer, sort of a magician, a wise man, to get this problem solved. But as Dairyman Crick points out, nobody does that anymore. And there it is again, the theme that the old ways are passing, that they're gone, and they're being replaced by other things. But then there's a story, and somebody in the milk house says, well, maybe somebody's in love. Now, Tess doesn't react to this just now, but she does react to what's told next. It's the story of a guy named Jack Dollop. And his name is kind of symbolic because you take a dollop of butter, you put it on your toast. His name is kind of connects to butter. And he meets a girl, and he takes advantage of her. She gets pregnant, and her mother is so angry that she comes after him And to escape her, he hides in the big barrel that the butter is churned in to escape her. Everybody laughs. It's a funny story. The only person who doesn't laugh is Tess for two reasons. One, this is her story. She was taken advantage of. She had a baby, and it died. Two, her mother, Joan, did not go after Alec Stokes d'Urberville like she should have. She stayed at home with her drunken husband and blamed her daughter for what happened. And for these two reasons, Tess feels a warmth and a passion and a shame and says, I am faint. I think I am better out of doors. She is physically weakened by hearing this and has to get out of the milk house. And Hardy describes her as a fair sufferer. She's the only one with the sorrow. Don't forget her baby was named Sorrow. The other ones think this is funny. She does not think it's funny at all. Whether we know it or not, we have what you might call a beauty contest going on this farm. It's between the four dairy maids, Reddy, Marion, and Tess. Guess who's going to win? They're all in love with Angel, but what are they in love with? Well, they're in love with his appearance, and we all know the risks of that. One of them has kissed his shade, and they all want, I be in love with him, so is Reddy, and so be you, Marion. They're all in love with him, but how much do they know about him? Dear Mr. Clare, they call him. Okay, we'll see. Remember my question about which creep you prefer. Everybody said I'll take A, the one you can spot from the get-go. They wonder if they can marry him if he's a gentleman's son, or he's the son of a great landowner, or he's a great son of a great farmer. And they're wondering about that. Don't forget that Reddy Priddle is also a descendant of the Paradells, and her ancestral heritage has been as useless to hers as Tess is to her. But this is where Tess's intense moral conflict begins. She's tearing herself up inside because she doesn't think she's worthy. How can she hold Angel's heart if this has happened to her? She sees herself as a figure of guilt and a figure of sin. The only thing she knows is that she'll have to be a farm wife, and that's what will draw his attention, and that's what he's looking for. Well, okay, if that's what he's looking for, fine. But is that going to be a love match? Chapter 22. Now there's another problem in the milk house. We've got butter, but it's tainted. It tastes bitter. Dairyman Crick says it's got a twang to it. That must mean there's garlic out there in the shrubbery that the cows are eating. You got to go out and cut it up. He sends the workers out with knives to cut it out and weed it out of the grass. This means that Tess ends up near Angel. She tries to stay back from him. She tries to stay away from him. She tries to avoid him. She's trying everything she can think of, but she can't. It's not working. And he walks next to her and they creep together. She's trying various tactics to get him to forget about her. She points out that, well, look at Iz and look at Reddy. They're pretty. She's trying to get him interested in the other girls. They're excellent dairy women, she says, but he says, not better than you. He's got his eyes on her. And she notices that he's looking at Reddy Priddle. You're looking at her. Her perception of his care to avoid compromising the happiness of either in the least degree bred a tender respect in Tess for what she deemed the self-controlling sense of duty shown by him. She sees him as not wanting to hurt the other girls, and so she admires him for that, but she'll find out different about him later on.